Welcome back to this 7th installment in our Introduction to Excel training series that we're calling Applied Aesthetics. So here we're going to be covering a lot of the different ways that you can format cells in Excel, including number formats, bolding, underlining, borders, and there'll be a few other things to cover. And we're going to be doing this by using an Excel CSV workbook, and this is a pretty common situation that you'll find yourself in, where you may have a file that is from a comma delimited resource or source file, and then you need to go through and kind of clean it up and make it more presentable to others. So let's take a look and move over to Excel. Well, here's the raw file that we're going to look at. This is actually a profit and loss statement that came out of QuickBooks, and it was exported as what's called a CSV file, or a comma separated value file. And this is just basically a text file that QuickBooks generated that I then opened in Excel. But this is an example here of what the file looked like that was exported. Just looking at it with a text editor, you can see that it is very sparse. It is just the row titles and then 13 rows or columns of data that you can see after that. So this is the file that we're going to modify or improve the aesthetics of using the various formatting capabilities that we can modify within Excel. Before we get too deep into the formatting, let's create a little bit of extra space here in our report. So we're going to add about 3 rows here to give us a little separation from the top of the report. So I just did a right click there. Then I'm going to also add an extra column over here at the right. And one of the first things I want to do is just open up this column so that I can see what the full titles are here. So I could actually put another title over here and just call this account. Now the way that this is organized is by income. So the income items here at the top until we get down here to the cost of goods items, and then we have income minus cost of goods equals gross profit. Then we have kind of another subset here starting at expenses. And then these are all operating expenses. So this goes down to here where it has total expense, and then gross profit minus total expense equals ordinary income. And then we have another category. Our final category is other income and expenses. And then we get to net income here at the bottom. So that's how this is organized. So we're going to want to put in subtotals and some more line spaces, as well as some other metrics. So the way that you bring up the Excel formatting box is to do a control apostrophe. And then that automatically brings up this format cells box here. So this is broken down into 6 categories. So the first one is number. So these are all the different number formats. Now most of these are pretty self-explanatory, but you can kind of see the different options that you have. Custom is probably where it gets the most complicated. We're not going to really cover that in this video, but you can do quite a few different things with number formats and text formats using that. The next one is alignment. So here at the top, you have the horizontal alignment. You can do centered, left, right, justified, lots of different options. And then the vertical alignment also is here, so you can have things at the top or at the bottom of the cells, depending on how you want them oriented. And then there's other things here that we're not going to get into, but wrapping, shrink to fit, merging cells, text direction, orientation. Those are all more advanced things, but we're not going to cover that so much here today. Then there's font. So this is just the typical thing. You can pick the font, the size, strike through, subscript, superscript, whatever you want to do. Then we have the borders, so we can have outlines, we can have borders, horizontal borders, vertical borders, borders between columns, not between columns. So there's a lot of options. You can change the color, the width, different options there. So then you have fill. So here are the different colors of fill, and again, you can do more customized things with these boxes down here. And then protection, which we're not going to get into, but if you do decide you need to protect a workbook, you can use this protection capability to lock cells, which means that your report users cannot make modifications to those cells. Okay, so next I'm going to put in some headers here. So this is going to be the profit and loss statement for the Acme Distribution Company. And this is their profit and loss statement. And this is for year end 2022. I'm going to put in one more extra space here. So I want to change the size of some of these fonts so it's a little bit clearer. Now you can go ahead and do the control apostrophe like I did earlier, or you can just use some of these menu options right here. So I just want to, for starters, increase the size of the name of the company to make that more prominent. So I'm going to increase the size of that. Then this profit and loss, I want to italicize that, and I also want to make it a bit bigger. And then the year, I also want to make a bit bigger. So that is an easy way to change the font sizes. You can also, another quick way to get to the formatting dialog is if you just click this little button right here, then it brings up this same format cells dialog that we looked earlier with the format tab, and you can do all the same things I just did from right here. So next I'm going to change kind of the spacing on some of these account names. Now the whole report is basically ordinary income and expense. Now I'm going to be using some of this alignment box over here, and the thing that I'm going to be using is this tab here to increase the indentation. Now again, you could get to the same option from here, and increasing the indentation is right here. You can increase this. Clicking this 1 will increase this indentation 1 here. If you click it twice, it'll be 2. So really, everything from the top to the bottom, I want to move everything over 1, at least indent one space to the right of the total. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through and do the rest of the indentations you can watch. But basically, wherever you see a title here with no numbers, that's kind of a header. So I'm going to be spacing things, and you can see how I do it in very quick fashion. Okay, that got us the indentation that we were looking for. So now the next step is we would like to do some bordering and some bolding. So I want to have a top border at all my subtotals that I can see here. So again, I'm going to quickly go through this so you can just watch, but it'll be very fast. Now again, you don't see the borders Well, actually, you have the borders right here, so I can get the top border here. And again, kind of the same thing here. If I go to borders here, I can do a border. I can get a top border by doing that as well, if I want something that isn't over there. But what I'm going to do is just very quickly is to go through and put a top border across the rows like this. And then I'm going to put a border, and then I'm going to hit Control C to copy, and then I want to paste this format on each row where I have a subtotal. So for example, this row here, so I'm going to do slash. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this, and then I want to just paste this format down here. So I highlight this, and then I can go to paste format, which is here. Okay, so I'm going to quickly go through and do this on the rest of the rows that I want done. Okay, so I think we got most of the top borders that we wanted to cover. So now we want to bold all these totals. Now I could have done that with the one step before, but I'll just do it over again. So now bolding is just here. And I'm going to quickly go through this so you don't have to watch it all. Okay, we've kind of bolded all of our subtotals, and we're starting to get a more legible report. So scrolling up here. Now I want to change these dates the way these dates are showing here. These are actual dates, and I'm going to use the number format to change these dates. And if I go over here, I can get a lot of different formats. This is a good one here. And that makes it a little bit wide, but this is one of the date formats. Here I want to center these. So we're going to hit this center up here, alignment. And that looks fine, but I mean the dates are kind of wide, so I may want to create a custom format. So the way that you do a custom format is to go up here, hit custom, and here I can just pick one here, and it shows me what it's going to look like here. And by picking this MM-YY, it'll just give me the 3 abbreviated date and then the last 2 significant years of the year. So if I pick that, then I think I like that a little bit better. All right, so I'm going to put some borders around that. And I'm going to also put a border around this. Okay, now I just want to clean up my numbers because I don't really need the decimals cents on all these dollars. So I'm going to get rid of that. I don't really need a dollar sign, so I'm just going to pick this number format, which allows me to bring in a comma separator, but I'm going to get rid of the decimals. Okay. So I can shrink down the width of my report a little bit here. Okay, so now it's looking a little bit better. And now I can put in my own subtotals. Now, that's not really going to help a whole lot because these subtotals are correct, but it will help me make sure that I'm summarizing the data correctly. And I'm just going to quickly go through this. You can just watch in speeded up fashion. Okay, so you can see that I got the same numbers as originally were on the report. The gross profit is $91,000 here. I'm going to put in a little space here, and then I'm going to put in a calculation because it's always important to know what our gross margin is, which is a percentage. So gross margin is just gross profit divided by the total income or revenue. So here I'm going to change the number format to a percent. So I could just click this percent here, or I could do a control apostrophe here, and I could just pick up percent here. And then if I want, say, 1 decimal point, I can do that. And there you have it. So we have 92.3% margins, gross margins. That's pretty darn good. I would say there's a lot of expenses that aren't being accommodated here. But now I'm going to speed up and go through and do the subtotals here on these other rows here. So just hang on. Okay, we have most of the subtotals done. We had a little bit of an issue trying to reconcile this total expense here, but finally got that fixed. So now here, this net ordinary income is really the result of taking the gross profit that was up above, as you'll recall, here, and then subtracting it from what this is calling the total expense. Now, normal accounting parlance, this would be total operating expense. And then the line right below it would be operating income. Actually, what we have here, though, in this case is a operating loss of $71,000. Now, just like with gross profit and gross margin, we can input our operating margin, which is the same calculation as the gross margin, only using the operating income / loss. So we're going to go all the way up here to the top. All right, and kind of similar to before, we want to convert this into a percent. So we're going to use a percent right here, and we're going to just add 1 decimal. So this allows you to increase the decimal. So that's a little bit different than the way we did it earlier. And then finally, then we have the net income. So the net income is going to be the total income and expense. So this is the final category, other income and expense. This is an increase in net income. So what we're going to do is, this number is not going to change, hopefully, from the number above, but we add that number to it. And now we can come up with our return on sales. Now I'm going to change this formula here just to make this a little bit faster because I'm always using the same denominator. So I'm going to make that row an absolute, and I have a link there if you want to learn more about creating absolute versus relative reference formulas, but this just allows me to do that. And now I have the return on sales. So this business is not in good shape. It's losing 71 cents on every dollar of income. So that is not a place to be. So if you wanted to do more analysis, what we could do is come over here, and probably a helpful thing to know would be to be looking at all our expenses as a percentage of total income. So the total income is right here. So we want to know what percentage are all of these as part of total income. So again, I'm going to make that an absolute reference. I'm going to convert that into a percent. I'm going to add 1 decimal point. And then I'm just going to go down and put this wherever there is a expense. So I'm going to do this very quickly so you don't have to watch. Okay, so there you have it. So generally the biggest expense is payroll in most businesses. Here I'm going to show you a little trick. So here I'm going to scroll up to where I want my row titles to be, and then I'm going to put my cell right there, and then I'm going to say Freeze Panes, and then that allows me to kind of scroll down and look at my different categories of expense. All right, I don't want this column to get too wide, so I'm going to wrap and center that cell. So now you can see right there that our payroll is 147% of our revenue, which you can see right here. See, we're collecting from our customers $91,000, and our payroll expense is $145,000. So we need to increase income in a big hurry. Now, to help make this report a little bit clearer, we can put in some more formatting here in the form of fill. So I usually like to put in something like this, and then make sure that this whole thing is bolded. Okay, and then I'm going to do a Control-C to copy that. Then I'm going to go down to my different major sections. So I have income, then I have cost of goods. So I'm just going to do a /est to paste in that formatting. And then I'm going to do it here. And then I'm going to go down and do it for other income and expense right there. So that's kind of about it for making this more legible and useful. I'm going to quickly show you what this would look like on a report, but I am not going to give you a lot of direction on how I'm doing that because I will save that for another video in the future. So I'm going to do this quickly. So there you have it. There's what the report would look like. I mean, it's kind of small, but you can tell that's a vast improvement over what we started with. And then the way I set it up, I mean, these page headers and everything carry on to the second page so that you can tell what are the correct months and what are the top headers on each one of the page. So hopefully you found that helpful, and we'll show you how we did the printing at a later date. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe down below and check out our website. You'll see the link here on the screen. Thank you and bye.